Barbara, you ready? All righty. Welcome, everyone, to the Oviedo City Council meeting. It is Monday, April 1st, 2019, about 6:30 p.m. If everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Cobb, you want to handle an invocation for us?
Yes, Mayor. Be happy to.
Thank you.
If you'd like to join us in prayer, please do so at this time. Father God, we come to you tonight to seek your wisdom, to seek your advice, to seek your help as we conduct the business of this community. We thank you, Lord, for the many blessings that you've bestowed on this place that we call home. We ask that you will be with those who are suffering tonight, Lord. We ask that you be with them and comfort them and help them. We have a few members of our own city family that are going through procedures and different illnesses, and we ask that you reach down and place your hand on them and give them the comfort to move forward and give them the will. We ask that you be with our council tonight, Lord, and give them guidance and help them as they deliberate the agenda items before them. We ask that you be with everyone here tonight and bring them home safely to their families. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. All righty. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's approximately 6:35 p.m. We have all members of council present this evening. The first item we have on the agenda tonight is ceremonial item. So, council, if you can join me down front. Oh, thank you, Drew. All righty, so tonight we're going to be recognizing Ryan Rowland of Hagerty High School. He is winning the 2019 Class 3A State Wrestling Championship, and I believe this is the first state championship in wrestling won at Hagerty High School. Am I correct? And we also have his coach here, Scotty Diaz. So, gentlemen, come on up and bring Dad up with you, too. Great job, man. Excellent.
Good job, man.
Great job, Coach. Thank you. Dad, you must be proud.
I am.
I don't blame you.
Thank you.
And, Coach, what we usually do here is maybe just tell us a little bit about the journey.
Thank you guys for having us. Like I said, this is Ryan Rowland, and I couldn't think of a better student athlete to have represent us and be our first state champion at Hagerty High School. He's the true definition of what a wrestler is. He works hard, and he's in the classroom, on the mat, off the mat, wherever he is. He works hard. He does his best, and he's a great example of what I'd like to have set for all my future wrestlers at Hagerty, and I'm very proud to honor him tonight and have him here as our first state champion.
Congratulations. Now, Ryan, are you a senior?
Yeah. I'm
Senior, so where are you going off to school?
up there to northern Michigan.
Northern Michigan? You're...
It's cold.
You know what you're getting into? You gonna wrestle?
Yes, sir.
Oh, awesome. Scholarship?
Yeah, they're talking somewhat of a full ride, so hopefully that'll work out.
Oh, that is terrific. Give him a big round of applause. That is just awesome. Great job. Let's get a picture of Ryan. Ryan's in the middle. Guys will get around us. Man, congratulations. That is just awesome, man. State championship, off to college, full ride. Dad's happy about that, I'm sure. Those rides help, right?
Oh, yes.
Congratulations, guys. It's good for wrestling. You'll be in the gym all the time. All righty, guys, thank you so much. You don't have to stay with the meeting. I mean, if you've got things to do, you are more than welcome. Thank you again. Give them a big round of applause, everyone.
about 60 miles from where my parents were.
All righty. Moving along on the agenda, we have first item of business, the approval of our minutes for the March 4th, 2019 regular session. I'd like to entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Looks good.
Good.
All righty. Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Motion on the table is to adopt as presented. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is our public comment portion of the meeting. If there's anybody in the audience who'd like to address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not, please do so at this time. Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to the consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda are items number 4 through 9. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Henkin, you have the floor.
So just two things, Mr. Mayor, I know you keep up on this more than anybody does, but we're going to redo a little upgrade to the shopping center over here where Frogger's is. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's on there, just for people to know. And item number 9, I just want to say, Mr. Manager, that was a pleasure. You're doing a great job in the city. We are in wonderful hands with you here, and it's been a great 5 years, so congratulations. That was an excellent review, and city, we are lucky to have Brian here, so just want to say thank you for all your hard work. Great job.
Thank you. Anything, Councilman?
Yep. Same thing, Brian. Congratulations, and keep up the good work. We're proud of you.
Anything from the right side?
I can only echo what the other two have already said.
Echo and an echo, I'm guessing. Brian, great job. And Councilman, yes, there's renderings over there of a new building on 434 and the redevelopment of the Publix Plaza.
Yep, great.
And actually, I think we're going to be talking about that a little bit more later on. Kind of funny, we're approving the architecture before the plan, but just the way it works out.
And,
All righty.
and-
Yes.
And also on there's number 6, it's a pharmacy that, I'm looking forward to seeing that area there develop and change as well. So,
Yeah, that's second building.
yep.
Cool. All righty, so we have a motion on the table to adopt the consent agenda as presented. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All righty, moving along, we're up to item number 10. Just give me a moment, as I always ask, so I can catch up. All righty, item number 10 is ordinance number 1680. It's amending Chapter 34 of the Pensions and Retirement for the Oviedo Police Officers Pension Fund. Mr. Cobb, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for the council to amend the city regulations that govern.
Actually, Mr. Cobb, I am so sorry. This is an ordinance. I have to go to
Oh, okay.
Mr. Groot first.
Not a problem.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Groot, if you can read the ordinance by title.
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending Chapter 34, Pensions and Retirement, Article 2, relating to the Police Officers Retirement Fund, amending Section 34-21, Board of Trustees, amending Section 34-26, Disability, amending Section 34-36, Miscellaneous Provisions, amending Section 34-47, Reemployment After Retirement, amending Section 34-48, Deferred Retirement Option Plan, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification as well as correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you can start over.
Not a problem, Mayor. This ordinance amends the city's regulations that pertain to the police officers' pension fund. When there are changes to the state statute or to the IRS regulations, we have to update our own codes that apply. Most of these are cleanup items that bring us into compliance with state regulations as well as IRS regulations. But it also, I wanted to call to your attention that it does amend the Board of Trustees, the terms for the members of the Board of Trustees from 2 years to 4 years. It's recommended that the council conduct a public hearing and adopt ordinance number 1680.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. At this time, as was just announced, this is a public hearing. I will open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address council on ordinance number 1680? Seeing and hearing none, we will close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1680.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by, I think, Councilman Britton beat you by just a little bit.
Sorry, Bob, you can have it next time.
Councilman Hankin, anything?
No, sir, looks good.
Councilman Britton?
Looks good.
Councilman Chudnow?
I'm good.
Deputy Mayor?
Looks like cleanup to me.
All righty, as Mr. Cobb said, this is just a lot of cleanup stuff in here. So I will call the question on the motion, which is to adopt ordinance number 1680. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Going to move over now to item number 11, which is ordinance number 1681. Basically the same exact thing, just for the firefighters' pension fund. It's amending Chapter 34. Mr. Groot, can you read this by title only for us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending Chapter 34, Pensions and Retirement, Article 3, Firefighters Pension Trust Fund of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oviedo, amending Section 34-68, Definitions, amending Section 34-70, Board of Trustees, amending Section 34-74, Pre-Retirement Death, amending Section 34-75, Disability, amending Section 34-84, Miscellaneous Provisions, amending Section 34-94, Reemployment After Retirement, amending Section 34-95, Deferred Retirement Option Plan, amending Section 34-96, Supplemental Benefit Component for Special Benefits, Chapter 175, Share Accounts, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification as well as the correction of Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. And that's the ordinance by title.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Groot. Mr. Cobb?
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is similar to the one you just adopted, except that it applies to the firefighters' pension fund. It also is to address changes to state statute as well as IRS regulations, and it does revise the terms of the Board of Trustee members from 2 to 4 years. And I think there's also a thing that in there's a streamlining such that in the definitions for actuarial equivalent, that gives us the ability to not have to amend the regulations every time the assumption rate changes. So with that, it's recommended that you conduct a public hearing and adopt ordinance number 1681.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. This is a public hearing, as with ordinance 1680. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to address council on ordinance number 1681? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing portion and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1681.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Hankin, you have the floor.
Nope, looks great. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor?
Looks good.
Councilman Chudnow?
All good.
All good? Councilman Britton? All righty. Again, not to repeat myself, but these just are cleanup in order to meet state statutes. So all in favor of the motion to adopt ordinance 1681, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along, we're up to first reading of ordinances. Item number 12, we have none this evening. We're going to go into resolutions. Our first resolution is resolution number 3709-19. It is the site development order final engineering number 497-19 as well for the Alafaya Square Shopping Center redevelopment, more commonly known as the Publix on Alafaya Woods Boulevard. Mr. Cobb, can you give us a little background?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for the council to approve a redevelopment of the Alafaya Square Shopping Center, which is located on the east side of Alafaya Trail and the north side of Alafaya Woods Boulevard and the south side of Alexandria Boulevard. The property is designated plan unit development on the city's future land use map as well as the city's sufficient zoning map. The existing center consists of 177,286 square feet of retail development. It's anchored by a Publix grocery store. The applicant, and actually, can we pull up attachment 2 for this one, just so that we can... There's a couple of things that the applicant is asking to do, which is going to reshape the shopping center. The first thing that they're going to ask for, one of the first things that they're asking for is to basically cut a hole in the building. And they're going to create an access point onto Alexandria Boulevard in the north, I guess what would be the the northeast part of the site. And then on the State Route 434 part of the site, they're proposing to add an additional access point. There's going to be some revisions to the landscape plan to create more vistas for people to see, make visibility of the buildings better. And there's also there are a few deviations to the land development code that are necessary for this. One being the trees that they want to, once again, going into the overall plan for the landscape plan for the revised site. It's to allow 85 large island trees instead of the required 142. There's also a deviation for the distance requirements for the driveway on 434. That's a 98-foot deviation to allow a 232-foot deviation between the center lines of the proposed right-in, right-out access on Alafaya Trail. Both the site plan, the staff has reviewed the site plan and recommends approval. It is recommended that City Council adopt Resolution Number 3709-19.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. I have no written request on this one. Is the applicant here? Like to make a presentation? Or add anything to Mr. Cobb's presentation?
Good evening, Council, and thank you for your time. My name is Jason Maddox. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Epic Real Estate. We're the owner of Alafaya Square. We own currently over more than 2.5 million square feet nationwide of grocery-anchored centers. Done these types of renovations across the country. And I want to personally thank the city staff for all their work and effort and collaboration here over a project that's now entailed more than a year of work to pull together. And, we really believe this will help beautify the corridor for our center, help lift it. I'm very excited to see all the new development and that Oviedo has had since we've owned the center in 2015, and I think this will just help improve our center, help retain our tenants, increase our tenancy, improve your access and visibility, and really just beautify that, in particular the front of the center where you have the dry retention ponds today. Tomorrow there'll be wet ponds with an architectural feature and element and a welcoming environment into the center. So
Great. Let me see if there's
Thanks for your
any
time.
questions from council, the applicant.
This is probably the worst kept secret in Oviedo. They've been talking about this for a long time.
Yes, we have.
This is about the third remodel I've seen of that plaza since I've been here, so
That's very
it'll
likely.
be exciting to
Yeah,
see.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, I have no request to speak forms on this item, so I'll move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 3709-19.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Henkin, you have the floor.
Well, it was an excellent presentation, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the good things about Oviedo that keeps us, always in the top 10 of something is that it always looks great. We have a lot of new things coming on board, a lot of new places, and new architecture. So that is a very popular shopping center. We know a lot of people go in there, and I agree. A little facelift on it's going to help you guys to attract more, and I think it's a nice project, and it looks great. So good luck, and keep going.
Councilman Chudnow.
I like the planning of it. I think it's going to show very nicely from Alafaya, from 434 and from Alafaya Woods Boulevard.
Put it up a lot. Deputy Mayor?
It looks good. I'm excited to see this redevelopment of property and to kind of update everything.
Great. Councilman Britton?
I'm good. I just wanted to get one clarification on the deviation for the entrance, the 232. Is that deviations from the cut through? Or is that out on Alafaya Trail?
This will be out on Alafaya Trail. It's basically to put a right in, right out in between the existing driveway there at where the small center there in the front on the corner,
Yeah.
and the next the next entrance up, which is the central entrance. We have a 330-foot spacing requirement,
Okay.
and they get it in at 232, so it's a 98-foot deviation from the 330.
Because they're using the dry cleaners as a right out anyway.
So, but yeah, the whole site's interconnected, so that is a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I like the plan also. I also noticed that I think you're getting rid of that large monument sign that's out there and going to two smaller signs. Just a little bit of history, it was a smaller sign that somebody made larger, so now we're going back. But I think that'll look better than what you have currently. Dr. Cree, if you can just come up and just explain this deviation to me on the island trees. I mean, I completely understand it. I see what they're doing, but, and staff is recommending approval, but just give us a little history on that one.
Sure. So the request was to, because the buildings are very set back in the property, they wanted more visibility. So we had a back and forth with them to have something that we also felt comfortable. So they are requesting a deviation for the island trees, but we negotiated to have, instead of large trees, have also medium-sized trees. So they are the mitigation for the deviation. So they are removing large trees, but they are placing 4-inch caliper trees, large trees where they have large trees, but also medium-sized trees where they don't have the large trees. So they are compensating with additional trees.
Nice. So, yeah, take out the big ones that are blocking all the vision right now, because I mean, the plaza's been there 30-some-odd years, and replacing them with just lower, smaller, to open up visibility.
Yeah, in some views. But they still have large trees in some of the islands, so we did not remove all of them.
Right. I think it's... Well, that's all I have for you, Dr. Greer.
Okay.
Thank you. I think it's great also the access out the back. Most folks, I mean, Mr. Cobb was explaining it earlier, I mean, that to connect the back of the plaza over to Alexandria by removing the building that used to be Scotty's Hardware at one point in time. I think that is a great move.
Wow.
You have a lot of folks and a lot of things happening at the Oviedo on the park area, and you have these folks walking over here. Well, now they're going to have access right into the plaza.
It will be more pedestrian.
Rather than having to walk all the way around.
Yeah, it will be more pedestrian friendly. They already had sidewalks around IHOP to help the pedestrian traffic, but of course, having this cut here in this building will make publics be closer to all the development of the park.
Right. It'll also give the exiting traffic different directions to go. And I realize that you have that exit off of onto Alexandria currently, but that's so far up by 434 that anybody who's going out may not be using that one. They may be going out to Alafaya and coming around. Now they'll see it, go right out the back of it. So I think it's brilliant. Are they taking out any of those stop signs in the lot, though?
Well, that is something that we may have to negotiate too, right? Because that
I don't know if that may be one of the number one social media complaints about your plaza, but that was Weingarten who put all those in there. All right, thank you, Don.
Okay, you're welcome.
I'll go up and down the dais one more time. Is there any other discussion? Good. All righty. Well, motion on the table is to adopt resolution number 3709-19. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go forth and build a nice plaza, gentlemen. Or I should say remodel a nice plaza. Thank you. You're welcome. All righty, we're up to item number 14. This is resolution number 3714-19. It's the remedial site development order for the Evans Square subdivision tree removal. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cobb for a brief introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request from council to approve remedial site development order 498-19. It replaces remedial site development order 496-19 to provide for tree removal on lots 2, 3, 4, and 29 of the Evans Square subdivision. The proposed trees for removal are a 30-inch laurel oak tree on Lot 2, a 40-inch live oak tree on Lot 3, a 25-inch magnolia tree on Lot 4, and a 24-inch rain tree pecan tree on Lot 29. The laurel oak tree and the live oak tree are considered heritage trees by the city's land development code. Thus, their replacement requires an inch-for-inch replacement. The total number of required replacement trees per the code is 36. At its March 4th, 2019 meeting, the City Council adopted Resolution 3699, which approved remedial site development order 496-19, which permitted the removal of the requested trees subject to the following conditions. Prior to the issuance of a clearing, grading, and tree removal permit, the developer owner shall pay $9,000 into the city's tree bank and donate $50,000 to the Friends of Oviedo, which donation is the result of the overall community adverse impact resulting from the loss of the requested trees and in lieu of code enforcement actions that could have been brought forth by the city. 2, the owner-developer would plant 2 6-inch caliber trees on each of the lots 2, 3, 4, and 29, in addition to the required lot trees that were approved as part of the preliminary subdivision plan to replace the requested tree, and this had to be done prior to the issuance of the respective certificates of occupancy on lots 2, 3, 4, and 29. Then prior to the issuance of the last certificate of occupancy for the subdivision, the owner-developer would plant up to 36 canopy trees, not including pine trees, in the subdivision common areas for which survivability is certified by a certified arborist. And the owner-developer would install shade structures over the park bench and 2 picnic tables for a total of 3 shade structures within the subdivision's neighborhood park. On March 19, 2019, the city received a letter from the Area General Counsel for the owner-developer that the representative at the March 4th meeting did not have the authority to bind the owner-developer and requested City Council's consideration of the following alternative mitigation for City Council's permission to remove the requested trees. 1, the owner-developer would pay $9,000 into the city's tree bank within 30 days. 2, the owner-developer would plant the 2 6-inch caliper trees on each of the lots 2, 3, 4, and 29, in addition to the required trees by the preliminary subdivision plan. And then 3, the owner would plant up to 36 caliper trees, not including pine trees, in the subdivision with the consent of the homeowners and the HOA before the last certificate of occupancy is issued for the subdivision. Now, Resolution 3714-19 approves the remedial site development order number 498-19, which approves the removal of the requested trees subject to the conditions of approval that reflect the mitigation strategies offered by the owner-developer. City Council's policy direction for these trees were that they would be preserved when the Council approved the Evans Square preliminary subdivision plan. As such, any request to remove the subject trees is considered a change to City Council's policy directive that the subject trees be preserved. Thus, this matter is a policy decision of the City Council inasmuch as the tree protection requirement was imposed by the Council as part of the development approval. And thus, any modification of that development approval is within the scope of the jurisdiction of the City Council. Therefore, staff seeks City Council's policy direction regarding Resolution number 3714-19 and remedial site development order number 498-19, which is proposed to replace remedial site development order number 496-19. That's our presentation, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Seems like it's Groundhog Day here. We've heard this item once before, but I guess we'll hear it again. Is the applicant present? Come on up. Just name and address for the record, please.
Absolutely. My name is Brent Bartholomew, Division President for David Weekley Homes. I appreciate and thank you for reopening this and letting us talk about it again. And again, the reason it's here was we heard a good recap for it. Stephen's a builder who does build for us and is employed by David Weekley. However, he does not have the official capacity to speak on our behalf. So, again, thank you all for rehearing this. And as you heard a second ago, the request to go back through it and look through items 1 through 3 on page 7 of your recap sheet. And to replace what was originally approved back on March 4th with Stephen present.
And do you have the authority to speak for the?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I do. As far as the trees are concerned, I did see the minutes, I saw the video, and I understand the back and forth, and I apologize for the Groundhog Day. However, it was not our intent to take down trees. In fact, when we get involved in a project, as you'll most likely know, the reason we chose to get involved in Oviedo was for the reason that I've heard all meeting long. People enjoy living here, and you guys have protected it very well. We always look to do the same. The intent was never to come in and tear any trees down. And as you mentioned before, you guys have used our name interchangeably with developer owner. And the reality is that we buy lots most of the time from a developer. And if you all had an agreement with a developer prior that we didn't know about, we felt like this was a little punitive. So we do agree. We do not want to tear down trees if we don't have to. And we do agree that it's a shame that in such the way that they came down in the construction and it was approved in the suffocation of the trees that you all can read about, it is a shame that we weren't able to preserve them. However, we do feel that it's unfair forcing through $50,000 in charitable donation to, we felt it was punitive. So agreed for the right of the neighborhood and for taking care of the streetscape and rebuilding the neighborhood. We did agree. 36 trees, placed them. It changes a little bit if you read it. It didn't just say in the common area. It does say that as we would get approval from a neighbor or for certainly the common area, but if we can't fit all 36 in there, it gave us some flexibility to put them in other locations. We did agree to tie the last CO to the completion of this. We do agree that it will make the neighborhood nicer. It will not replace the full canopy of existing trees. We understand that, but it is our request to be able to move forward with the $9,000 in the bank, the 2 for every one that was replaced, the larger tree, 6-inch caliber, and the 36-inch, or the 36 2.5-inch replacement trees. The oaks live on in the rest of the neighborhood.
All right. Thank you. If we have any questions, we'll call you back up. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have no request to speak forms on this item. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to address council? Bob, come on up. I saw you walking late.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Rob Brancho. I live at 455 Madison Lane in Oviedo. I stood here several years ago when this whole development was being brought forth, and I'm going to come today coming at it from a completely different perspective. I really want to thank the council, the developer, the builder, for basically developing Evans Grove in a manner very much compatible with what we all agreed to several years ago. I know there were a lot of concerns a few years ago from the neighbors that lived in that area, of which I was one of them. But I have to say that the developer, the home builder, really did follow the intent of what was proposed to be done there. In regard to these trees, as a practical matter, I always felt that it was very optimistic to hope that those trees, those particular trees along Hillcrest, were going to make it because of the grade change from Hillcrest itself. There was always about a 4 or 5 foot dip down into the orange grove that existed historically. And so when, no matter really what would have been done in there, once you would have leveled that land, those trees were going to always be in a pretty tough position. So I honestly think it's an improvement to not try to save something that was going to be sitting in a hole and putting some new trees that will over time really create the lovely canopy that we all like in that area. So I'm really here to really say thank you for how that development did come through. If there was anything I would comment on, which really doesn't have to do with the vegetation, would be to hope that the developer, as they finish up, is going to be able to restore some of the area along Hillcrest. There's a lot of construction traffic, a lot of, people are driving in the grass. It's very narrow. So I would hope that before they wrap up, they're going to be able to get that back in basically the original condition, which shouldn't be a big deal. But that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anybody else who'd like to address council? Come on. And then I'll come over to you.
Hello, sir, gentlemen, ladies. My name is Oscar Patino. I wanted to put a face with a lot number. I am Will and my family will live on Lot 2. So I've come here not on behalf of David Weekly. I've come here on behalf of my family. We have been trying to build this house for over a year. And what attracted me to this neighborhood in particular was the beauty of the neighborhood, the canopy. So I loved those trees. I was fully expecting them to be there. But recently I was told, and probably the owner or the future owner is the last to know, but recently I was told because of the condition of those trees that they're not going to be sustained if they are left as is. So I know this is not your concern, but I'm going on month 12 now trying to move into this house. And the concern for my family now is that I've made arrangements to move in at a date that was promised to me by David Weekly, which is April 10th. So now the possibility of the certificate of occupancy being withheld it's going to be a hardship for my family now, because now we have to create other alternatives for living and for commuting, such that I will be a resident of Oviedo. I'm a former Navy veteran, and I just want to say thank you for your time, and I appreciate your consideration with this matter. And if there is any certificate of occupancy that could be held, that it be a different one, not that one that's going to be currently moved into soon. So thank you for your time.
We'll make a note of that. Lot 2. Leave it alone. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm Lisa Kovac, and I am at 421 Hillcrest Drive. So I am here with kind of a different opinion from what we've heard today. I am very upset about the trees, and I understand that there are some improvements to our neighborhood with the housing there, but it's always been under, we knew that the orange groves had to come down, but we were always under the impression that the trees lining that road were going to be saved. When you look at the footprint, there's no way that when that footprint was designed, those trees were going to be able to be salvaged. And perhaps, maybe it's a scaling issue, but if they had designed a different footprint, then perhaps those trees could be saved. When I went right after, when they were in the middle of developing that, I just want to share a story. When I went and they were developing that, they were in the process of initially building, I went to talk to the model home realtor, and what the realtor had shared with me is, when I asked her about the trees, number one, she was very annoyed because many of the residents have been in there discussing these trees, because we saw what was going on. We saw that there was a discrepancy between, what was being built and the viability of these trees. And her response to me is, I cannot believe the city is requiring us to keep the trees because it's going to be impossible given what's going on. And of course it's going to be impossible. It's because it was designed inappropriately to salvage these trees. And now I feel like we're in this situation where, yes, the trees cannot be remedied. Their roots were buried. In my opinion, there's no way that the roots could have not been buried given the footprint of the housing. So they violated it. They violated their agreement, and now we're losing these beautiful trees that have been around forever, and now they're proposing not to even have the $50,000. And it's also a matter of trees, but it's not just trees. And I know it's been discussed, but the runoff and within the neighborhood and the filling up of the Lisa Garden and the flooding in the area because of the retraction of the fill in and the water development system is just not working. And the whole area, I believe, needs to have restitution made to make everything water flow correct. We're losing our canopy, and I believe very strongly that the developer entered into this regardless of whose fault it was or I didn't know. That was the agreement, and we need to preserve Oviedo and our trees in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to address City Council? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor? Excuse me. I have a question for Mr. Groot. Mr. Groot, if David Weekley buys this from a developer and there's an issue of these trees, does that issue run with the land for a new buyer legally?
There was a site development order that was recorded, and that ran with the land.
Ran with the land. Okay? Well, I mean, I look at it this way. I mean, we sat here and
Well, can we get a motion on the table?
oh, you need a motion?
Yeah, let's get a motion going, then we get into discussion. Give me any motion.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion on...
Get to adopt, it doesn't matter, just make a
Well, I'm
motion.
going to make it Resolution 3714-19 to deny what the staff is proposing, to not accept what the applicant wants to do right now.
All right, we have a motion, do we have a second discussion?
Second.
All right, we have a second, go ahead, yeah.
So we knew this property when it came here. We had countless residents come in here and speak to us about these trees. We had Chief Drago, who used to live up there at the time. He came in here multiple times. We had former Councilwoman Cindy Drago here, and many homeowners up there. And I think it was the clear direction of this council to do everything you can to preserve those trees. I mean, yes, you can put all these other trees in, and I'm sure it'll look nice down the road, but, you know, it's not the bill we were sold. And we had everybody in here, all of us counting on it, and then we hear that they're all dead, and nobody wants to take responsibility for it. So, to Ms. Kovac's point, you know, we should be taking care of Oviedo. I agree. I mean, we can't bring these trees back now. We saw the arborist report, they are dead. But the penalty that we spoke about, you know, unfortunately, legally, it runs with the land. I can't in good conscience say we're just going to do what we would do with anybody else. I mean, it's a shame they died, but, you know, David Weekley is out there working on this land as well. So I feel like what we discussed at the last meeting was a fair you know, deal to put this to rest and try to move forward. The point to me is if we take this the way it is, it sends a message to everybody else that we can go kill all our trees. And I know it's not easy when you develop property and, you know, old trees are in the way, but it's been done very well before. We brought up Riverside, the Maggie's Court tree out in Riverside. We see a tree out there that took over a whole lot. They just preserved the whole lot, and they kept the lot. So, you know, it's an unfortunate situation. I will say that David Weekley is a good company for the city. They, as the applicant said, they do work a lot with the city, and I do think they care very much for the city. But in this instance, I'm going to stick with what I agreed to at the last meeting, that, you know, they would do the amount of trees they said, the tree bank, and the penalty that way we had. I did read the letter from the attorney, and he basically said it's not his issue. Well, our attorney just said it does run with the land. So I think the deal we had on there was fair. I think it will let us all move forward. I will say it's unfortunate that David Weekley had this, you know, forced upon them, but you bought the property and you knew it ran with the land. So this is kind of tough for us. We're trying to balance you guys and our residents, but in this one I'm going to agree with the residents that we have to stick with what we had 2 weeks ago. So that's it.
Councilman Chudnow, I think you were my second.
That was your second. And, see, for me, you said that if you didn't know, there's due diligence that goes when buying a piece of property or taking it over. It's just like if I'm buying a piece of property and there's liens on it, and I don't know about the liens, I'm stuck with the liens. I see no difference here. And to say the 9,000 and not have some type of mediation for not moving those houses back or making them smaller, or some mediations to save those trees, to me, that can't go without some time. And maybe it's because of my background. I just can't see something that's violated not having some type of sanction that goes along with it. So I would have to agree with Councilman Hank, and I can't vote for this without that.
Thank you. Councilman Britton?
Well, I tend to agree. Lonnie, there was an email stream that went out last week, and you commented that there may be may need to involve the bond relative to the original developer.
Well, that's a different issue.
That's a different
There's some engineering issues that as I understand it, that may result, well, has resulted in the request to extend the bond, and I don't know where that lies now. But those are separate issues.
Okay. We talked about it last time, whether they could, whether we have a course to go back to the original developer, and I don't think that's the case anymore, is it? In code enforcement activities, you deal with the owner of the property, whoever that may be. Okay. I apologize to you, ma'am. I was up here using Google Earth. I wanted to get a perspective. It just so happens if you do Street View of Google Earth, it's imagery from 2013. And I have to say, those trees don't look blighted one bit. They look pretty healthy to me in this image. You know, I've had the floor, ma'am.
Oh, no, I just didn't understand.
So, you know, I just have to say that you know, I think there could have been actions taken to save those trees if someone had been responsible for it. And I don't have a whole lot of sympathy. I think this was just blatant disregard for the preservation of those trees, which we were specific on our intent with that. So I'm not sure if the original agreement was fair or not fair, but I think there is, according to Mr. Chudnow, there is some punitive responsibility here. So,
thank you. Deputy Mayor?
So, for me, it just goes back to the original agreement that was agreed to, and if you know the council that was up here at the time sat and listened to all the residents, listened to the developer, and came up with an agreement, and that was to save these trees. And these trees have consistently since then been watched, and there's notifications to the developer that they needed to clear additional land. And then about 2 years ago, roughly, these trees came up again at a council meeting, and we were told that the houses would be able to be positioned or scaled down in order to preserve these trees as well, and that was the direction at that time. And now we're coming back, and basically the trees are dead and they need to be removed. And so to me, this was just a disregard for the original agreement, and along the way, just additional disregard to what the council had agreed to between the developer and or the home builder. So to me, I don't have any sympathy either, and I think what we came up with the last time was fair and you know, based on the situation. So I have to agree with the other council members.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, I'm not going to repeat what's been said. It's obvious what the position of the council is on this particular issue. It's a shame that we're here. I mean, I'll just add that I mean, it wasn't just once, it was twice that this issue came up. And gentlemen, the second time the issue came up, you were already under construction out there. You hadn't taken these lots down yet, but you had construction going on. So, I mean, I know it seems in your minds that we may be being unreasonable, but put yourself on this side of the dais. And, you know, we had an agreement on these trees. Had something been brought forth at the very beginning of the project? Had we been told differently? Had remediation may have been able to occur? But the developer was at that podium and said he had spoken, represented that he had spoken to your company and that you were going to change the houses to fit the trees. Now, whether that occurred or not, I don't know. But here's what I do know. You have a site development order that runs with your land. You bought the land. So, you know, we hashed this all out a couple of 3 weeks ago. You know, originally we were going to fine you $100,000. So the gentleman that you had here had gotten it down to 50. Now I regret that because you're making us live it all over again. So, you know, choice is yours what you want to do. Our order was clear 2 weeks ago. That order still stands. You have a client of yours right there sitting in limbo over this.
Mr. Mayor, before you vote, can I make a couple of comments?
Sure.
Actually, please correct me if I'm wrong as to any of y'all's understanding, but at the March 4th meeting, y'all, like I said, correct me, you had the clear understanding that the gentleman that appeared for David Weekley Homes was speaking for David Weekley Homes.
Yes.
That's what he represented to us. Yes.
He accepted our proposal.
And the other thing is, and I'm going to ask Mr. Cobb this, the meeting on March 4th is March 4th, right?
Yes.
Was it advertised in any different way than tonight in terms of this item?
No.
So the world was on notice just as much on March 4th as it was tonight about what was being decided. That's all I wanted.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Groot.
Can I ask another?
Councilman Henkin.
Can I ask another question too? Because I saw in the letter from the David Weekley attorney that Mr.
Which
Barth-
attachment is that?
That is
Attachment 1, I said.
Yeah, you got it. I did see in there, and I think Brent was copied on that as well, and he's here for David Weekley. But he talked about the HOA owning the land where we asked for shade structures. Can somebody clear me up? Would that be off the table? I mean, we said we would like those shade structures as part of it. And Brent, if you want to come back up and address that, the HOA, I'd like to know, could you not work with the HOA to still get those shade structures up, or?
Hang on a second.
You sort of closed the hearing, so I don't know if you want to reopen it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, hang on a minute. Well, I'd like to know about that. You know, I could make a new motion. That one is still in limbo, though, about the developer and the HOA. Well, I guess maybe staff could say this.
As a matter of law, I mean, somebody can't build on someone else's property. So to the extent that there may have been a promise to do that.
Well, let me ask you this, Brian, maybe you know this, or our staff does. I mean, usually an HOA takes over when the developer is totally...
They've taken over.
They took over already? Okay. Well, we might have to leave that up to them, but if nobody has the answer to that. But, you know, I could make a new motion if you're all done.
Okay, let me just see if there's anything else. Anything else from the members? Okay, so the motion, there's really no new motion to make other than the motion on the table here is to deny. So that's the question we're going to call. Motion on the table is to deny resolution number 3714-19. So all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So, Mr. Mayor, the resolution we voted on on March 4th is still valid?
That's what I was just going to say. The resolution that was adopted on March 4th is in effect. It was final action, and that's the status of the matter right now.
Okay, so we don't need a new motion. Okay.
No.
All right.
Anything else, Mr. Groot?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, gentlemen, but you've got what was passed, then you can make all your problems go away. We're going to move on. Next item up, discussion items, we have none. City Manager's report. Mr. Cobb?
I have no report, Mayor.
All righty, Mr. Groot?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank
All
you.
righty. Moving along to myself. Really don't have much to report on tonight either. It's nice to be back after taking a few weeks off and no meetings. We had a budget meeting, I guess, kind of wedged in between, but lots of events going on at the city. I think there's, what are you having, Drew? A family fun fest out at Oviedo on the Park on Saturday? Right? What time is it running? Okay, 2 to about 7?
It was 4 to 7, I think. Yeah, 4 to 7.
4 to 7, there we go. All right, it sounds like fun. All right, that'll be the end of my report. Deputy Mayor, you're up.
I just had the Fun Fest, so you already covered that, so I'm good.
Councilman Henkin?
Nothing this evening.
Councilman Chudnow?
I have nothing this evening.
Councilman Britt?
Man, I can't even write fast enough. First of all, we had a
That's good, no report.
a great
Future
council.
meeting dates? You weren't fast enough, I'm sorry.
Well, we had
I'm sorry.
we had a great golf tournament on Friday to benefit Helpful Hands. I think they projected they wanted to raise $100,000, and I think they did. Or maybe I got that wrong. The Kids House event raised $100,000 on Saturday night, which was really a cool event. And I don't know why we didn't have a table there, Brian, but maybe we could reconsider that in future years. Steve Harvey was the MC for the auction, and he was tremendous. But the Helpful Hands golf tournament was great. And the only other thing I have is a Calno meeting on Wednesday, and I'll report to you on that. It's at Seminole State in Oviedo, so we'll get to showcase that campus and show the folks what we got going on. So that's all I have.
Great. All righty, so is there anything else for the good of the order? Nothing? All righty. Our future meeting dates we have are Monday, April 15th, 2019, 6:30 p.m. Monday, April 29th, we're going to have a 6 p.m. budget workshop. Is that in stone right now, or is that just a hold the date?
Let's hold the day for right now.
All right, so we have a hold the date. Then we have a regular session Monday, May 6th, 6:30 p.m. Regular session Monday, May 20th. With all that being said, we are adjourned.